Hi, my name's Jade, and I'm a renegade.
Welcome to another episode of the Renegade Podcast. Each episode, we practice the lost art of conversation to better understand what it means to run, be a runner, to endure. Today, we sit down with someone who embodies what it truly means to live a life of quiet, deliberate excellence. A woman who didn't come to ultra running through raw talent or early promise, but through curiosity, discipline, and a deep love for the trails. From the misty forests of British Columbia to the historic paths of America's oldest ultramarathon, Jade Belzberg has built one of the most consistent and inspiring running careers in the sport. A professional trail runner for ultra running, Jade holds a master's in human nutrition and functional medicine. She's a gifted writer whose Substack, The Thread, weaves together running, nature, animals, and the quiet wisdom found only in long miles. In 2025, she claimed victories at the Chuckanut 50K, Squamish 50, Tillamook Burn 50 miler, and then delivered a stunning win at the legendary JFK 50 miler, running the fourth fastest woman's time in the race history. What moves me most about Jade is how she runs with both fire and grace, training hard, coaching others with generosity, writing with soul, and still making space for her nearly 20 animals and the simple beauty of living a life well lived. This is a conversation about presence and what it means to chase big goals without losing yourself along the way. Jade, welcome to the podcast. The Renegade is proud to be sponsored by Thrive Protein. Power your runs and fuel your endurance with Thrive Protein, the premier Canadian-made supplement brand crafted for endurance athletes. This family-owned brand uses a science-based approach to develop high-quality electrolytes, a carbon electrolyte powder, creatine, vegan protein powders, whey protein, and they are constantly innovating. Recently brought to market EnduraFuel, hydration and fuel all in one. Each serving offers 30 grams of carbs and a 2-to-1 ratio of glucose to fructose. You also get the sodium, potassium, the calcium, and the magnesium, replenishing all the elements that you're sweating out during your efforts. It gives your body the energy it needs to perform at its peak. Plus, the lemonade flavor tastes amazing. Thrive is perfect for any athlete chasing any distance. Visit thriveprotein.ca and use the code RENEGADE for 20% off your order. Thrive Protein. Fuel your relentless pursuit of adventure. Jade, thank you for joining the show. I first came acquainted to you. I ran the JFK 50 last fall. And when I got to the show expo, saw the ultra runners, and they mentioned, hey, you got to keep an eye out for Jade. And I'm like, how am I going to keep an eye out for Jade? Because I'm at the back of the pack, because I knew it was going to be a long day for me. But then I also heard some other Canadian runners there, and Canada had a great day. I just want to say congratulations. We want to congratulate you on the first Canadian woman to win the JFK and the fourth fastest time in history. So congratulations for kicking some JFK butt out there.
Thank you so much.
Just for the listeners, let's just kind of reel things back and let's go back to when you first discovered that, hey, I can actually run a lot longer than the average person around here. So like, is there a story kind of like how you became like an X-Men, how you just, your superhero story of how you got just into it? Tell us how you discovered it.
Yeah, I didn't really play a whole lot of sports growing up. Was always attracted more to like individual pursuits. I loved being outside. When I was in college and at Western Washington University in Bellingham, I heard about like weekly trail night runs, just held at the local shop. So I didn't know anyone else. I went to school super young. So I was feeling kind of lonely and not really sure what I was doing. So I decided to try some of those weekly trail night runs and really enjoyed it. Wasn't particularly fast. It wasn't until I met my now husband, Nick. This was back in 2012. He was running, really big races at the time. He was doing Barkley and Tour of Giants and Badwater, Arrowhead 135. He was like fully in the ultra world. and he decided to get me a pair of trail running shoes and an entry to a local trail race, and I happened to love it.
Got you into your first race. You got the shoes, and then how did you do that first race? Do you remember? Like, was it something like were you like mid? Like, you got bit though, right? Like, you got bit, and you were just like, hey, I'm going to do more of this.
Yeah, it was a 10K. It was a bit of a weird format. You ran up a mountain, not a huge mountain. This is in San Diego, maybe like 1,500 feet, but you had to do all of these exercises on the way up. So they made you stop and do like 30 mountain climbers and then 30 burpees and 30 jumping lunges. Yeah, it was fun though. And I surprised myself by actually being able to run up the whole thing, and I think I was second. And this is like a super small race, like maybe 40, 50 people, but um I realized that I actually enjoyed the competitive side of it. So then signed up for my first half marathon. I ended up interning with Trail Runner magazine out in Colorado after I graduated college, and that led me to wanting to do my first 50K.
My mind went crazy for a second there because you said your first race you had to mix running and working out, and runners, we don't like to work out at all. So like, I'm glad that you stuck with it and became one of the best runners in the world. So kudos for that, for sticking with the workout and the race. You were mentioning
Thank you.
something, and something I've been trying for about 10 years is to attract my wife to come out for a run with me. So you were mentioning your husband was doing all these big races and you were help crewing them. How did you not get scared away? Every time I bring my wife to a race, she's like, I would never want to do that. What was the appealing thing when you saw and you helped out at these races that kind of like maybe sparked that interest? Like, what is this all about?
Yeah, that was kind of the wild part because I had the same reaction that your wife has. Um, my first the first ultra I was ever at, so the first time I ever crewed, my husband Nick was Barkley, and that was the year that he finished. And I was like, I am never doing this. Like, this is just insane. There is no way. Don't sign me up for anything like this. Do not sign me up for 100 miles. I'm never doing that. Um, but there was just something about like, okay, once I finished my first 50K, once I did rim to rim to rim for the first time, it started opening my mind up to, okay, it's really hard, but it is doable, and I'm continuously curious about, can I go just a little bit farther? So I think it took maybe 2 years to get to like the 100-mile point. But it was just that kind of ever-present curiosity of like, I didn't think I'd ever be a runner, let alone doing ultra marathons, let alone doing kind of well at them.
Jade, you are 33 years old, correct? In around there? And you have raced over 70 races.
Yeah.
So that's a lot
Yeah.
of races in a short amount of time. Help us understand that transition. You said after a couple of years, you did your first 100-mile. What did your transition into racing look like to be able to complete over 70 races in that short amount of time?
Yeah, looking back, I think I really packed it in, because I'm kind of kind of blown away by that too. So I did my first 50K in 2014, and then 6 months later, I did my first 50-mile race, and then 6 months after that, I did my first, or a year after that, I did my first 100-mile race. So I jumped into it pretty fast. I kind of just used each distance, like, okay, check on the 50K, check on the 50-mile. Now I'm ready for 100 miles, which looking back is not the case. I think I was woefully underprepared for my first 100, but um, yeah, to me, it just feels like a natural progression, just led by curiosity. It wasn't until maybe 2021, 2022, where it started shifting more towards the competitive side.
That first 100 race, like if you could tell yourself something now, so you're about to run your first 100. If Jade could give some wisdom to Jade back then, what would it be? Did you have blisters? Did you have the right food? What would you do to better equip yourself?
I think everything was wrong. The worst thing was having Nick coach me. I would not recommend being coached by your spouse. That does not usually end well. Um, I didn't have enough of a base. I wasn't a runner in like high school or college, like on an actual team. I just didn't really have enough volume to be ready for the distance, in my opinion. Nutrition is really different now than what it used to be as well. So I would like run the race on actual food like sandwiches and pizza slices and avocado, and I wouldn't do any of that now. So just those two things alone, like actually training with the proper volume and then using sports nutrition products, that would have ended much better.
So then you've progressed, obviously, you have the right nutrition. Are there key people that have helped you to discover what the right mix of nutrition is, or is it something that you've navigated yourself?
I think it's mostly been trial and error for me. Usually when I find something that works, I just stick with it. And I've been lucky to have a really solid stomach. I've never had any issues in races, so I'm lucky in that regard. I after I realized that I could not be coached by Nick, I hired my own coach, and so certainly she's been incredibly helpful for navigating in the
Isn't a happy
sport.
middle with like pizza flavored gels or something like that? Maybe there is. I don't know. I haven't.
That would
No,
be tough.
no,
That'd
not
be really tough. That'd be tough.
better than a pizza slice, but
No, 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 you're not selling me.
To help those newbie runners who are thinking about signing up for their first ultra. Maybe they've done a half marathon, maybe they've done a marathon, maybe they just signed up for an ultra and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. But maybe Jade, you could give some coaching and some advice for them. So what do you see as like that biggest hurdle for a runner to overcome when they sign up for their first ultra? And consider that they might have some running base, like a few, maybe half marathons, maybe one marathon under their belt.
With the athletes that I coach, when they're like getting ready for their first ultra, we tend to spend the most amount of time talking about nutrition and hydration. Um, it's such a different world. Like a lot of the athletes that I've worked with have run lots of 5Ks and 10Ks and half marathons, and you can get away without fueling those, of course. But as soon as you step up to these longer distances, it's so tough to have a successful race. Um, Without actually taking care of your body and your nutrition through that. So to me, that's kind of the biggest factor of trying to dial down what works for you, what you'll actually use when it comes to race day, and then practicing with it as much as possible beforehand.
Hey runners, we all hunt that gear sweet spot. Functionality that actually delivers, comfort that never quits, performance that pushes you harder, and pieces that have you looking like the badass you are out there. But the real craving? Gear that straight up disappears. No fiddling, no chafing, just pure flow and the freedom where you can crush your miles. That's where our friends at Path Projects come in clutch. I'm obsessed with their Graves PX running shorts. That independent suspension design is straight wizardry. Baseliner locked in, outer short gliding free, zero rub, zero chafe, and pockets that actually work. Their base layers hit the same vibe, and their highly rated designs keep on stacking wins. Their Pyrenees hoodie, next to level, T19 magic with the snorkel hood and thumbhole hand protection, perfect for those crisp morning runs or just layering. It runs like a dream and chills like your favorite casual piece. And technical tees especially. Feather light, designed to manage sweat with sun protection, just pure performance that you forget that you're wearing. Premium everything from an independent crew that gets the runner's life. And as a special thank you, you can use the code TRP10 for 10% off your order for a limited time. Check them out, Path Projects. Whatever your path, enjoy your journey. What does fueling look like for you? Like, how often are you fueling? What's your go-to? And I guess my third question, I have a bad habit asking way too many questions, but how long did it take before you felt dialed in with your nutrition?
Just taking the gels, 90 grams an hour for everything I've done since then. So every race from vertical kilometer up to
Okay.
100 Ks, I've done the same
Very
thing,
neat.
and that's worked really well for me.
I find in a marathon, for me, it's hard to get to 90 grams an hour. I usually can do 2. If I try to do 3 gels, I'm out there for a long time. I got to bring way too many gels with me. But it's interesting. Now, do you remember your first bonk during an ultra? Like, what did it feel like for you? Like that first time, you're like, oh my god, my nutrition's way off.
Yeah, I remember it more with like training runs that I did it like kind of at the beginning because they'd be much longer than my husband had advertised. And again, like we were like feeling with, I don't know, maybe a sandwich. And I just remember those being just long, sloggy days, not really running, just kind of trying to get the miles over with. And there's like it's fun to look back on now, but it would have been a lot nicer of a just a much better experience if we'd actually fueled properly.
Like what kept you going in order to finish? Like, do you have a little kind of hack that you tend to go to mentally in order to just get yourself over that barrier or that edge?
Back then, it was just a matter of like we're in the middle of nowhere. We can only go forward. Mostly trying not to think about it. I find even during hard workouts, I try my best to stay very present and not think about everything that's coming. It's so easy to overwhelm yourself with all the miles that you have left. So either breaking it down like into super small segments, like, okay, it's only 3 miles to the car, or like during JFK, I'm just thinking of it section to section.
Are you singing to yourself? Any kind of like, do you go to any kind of artist in your mind
Yeah,
that's like, I know
good question. I
this
like
will
that.
get me through? Enough? Okay, that's good.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah. I didn't really during JFK. If I'm listening to
Fair
music, like
enough.
I'll just listen to the music and try to really pay attention to the lyrics. My music tends to not be super hypey. I prefer like 60s, 70s classic rock kind of stuff. Um, so yeah. Yeah.
50. I think you ran it in just a tad over 6 hours. So you're blazing fast through there. You probably don't get to enjoy the aid stations because the aid stations are wonderful during the JFK 50 for, the mid packers and the backpackers. They have everything. They got hamburgers and hot dogs, but I stick to the basics. Maybe I have some potato chips. They got some good soup. They got amazing cookies. I think at mile 18 for the Fredericksburg or Frederickston steeplechasers. I'm doing that probably wrong, but I love that one. I've done it 3 times because I keep going back for the aid stations. But it's wild there. You have to like one day, if you're not trying to win it, maybe you can slow down and pick up one of those cookies. Or I'll pick up a cookie for you next time you go, and I can find you at the end.
All the races you've been at, are there any memorable aid stations if you have stopped at any and enjoyed, the fruits of what they have to offer?
Yeah. What stands out to me is Cascade Crest 100. So that was my second 100-mile race back in 2016. And I just remember being incredibly hungry that whole race. So like every aid station I would stop and have an actual meal. So I recall like eating a personal
Nice.
pie. They had like personal pies available. Um, in the early morning hours, I stopped and had like 5 huckleberry pancakes. A
Amazing.
little bit later, they had scrambled eggs. It was
That's like
yeah,
almost
it
a
was really
thousand
good
grams of
food.
carbs an hour. That's fantastic. That's why you're
Yeah, yeah, I was doing well back then.
well. For the runners making their way into an ultra, and maybe thinking about your progression training wise, how much should a runner or how should a runner view the transition from the marathon or a half marathon distance to an ultra? Like, how long should they transition? How much time do they really need before they can run a really good ultra?
It's not all that different in my mind. The crux to me tends to be the long runs, just ensuring that the long runs are long enough. I don't think it needs to be anything
Okay.
longer than like 20 to 24 miles if you're going to be doing a 50K. Um, a lot of it is trying to get in the vert, like both the climbing and the descents that are common to most ultras, unless you're doing like a dead flat course. I think that's really new to runners making the transition. And that also brings in more variables of like, how do I eat when I'm, my heart rate's super high and I'm going up a hill? Or how do I not have stomach upset when I'm trying to bomb a descent? I think those little things can sometimes be overcrowded by like, oh my God, like I need to get this much distance because I'm doing a much bigger race. And I think sometimes the volume side
Interesting.
is not quite as
I
important.
would think that probably most new runners, they might stay away from the ultra scene because they're thinking that these long runs they need to go on could be 30 miles, a 35-mile area, go out for 6, 7, 8 hours. And that can, to fit that into a week. But you're saying for a good 50K, a nice 20, 25-mile long run would be a good transition.
Yeah, I would feel confident giving that to an athlete.
Typical week look like for you right now? Like, depending, I guess, on what you're training for. But let's just say you have a few, weeks or months before your next big run. Like, what do you do for conditioning? What do you do just what's fun for you, I guess, for getting out there on just a daily or typical week?
Yeah, my typical week is usually 80 to 90 miles of running. Yeah, it's grown a lot over time. I have a speed workout usually on Wednesdays that's usually more focused on shorter intervals, and that'll change between track workouts, hill workouts, tempo threshold sessions on roads. And then I'll usually have some kind of workout component within my long run on Saturday. Either take Mondays as total rest days or I'll have those as biking days, and then easy running everywhere in between.
So really, really clocking those kilometers during a week there. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I
Lots
should
of
be giving it in
a lot of
kilometers.
listeners in the
Bigger
US,
numbers,
Canada.
right?
It's like 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I know that's not true.
what are when you look back, and Mark asked this question about, what would you maybe do different at your first ultra? If you look back, what is maybe a couple pieces of gear that you would have to have at your first ultra that you're must right now that you can't go without? Is there any special gear that you'd go back and say, Jade, you need this? Okay.
Yeah, my John G shorts with pockets. Yeah, I guess just pocketed shorts that kind of have like a slimmer fit. I really struggled with finding a pack early on that fit me, that didn't cause like chafing, that wasn't like bouncing weird. I just remember going through a lot of different packs to try to find one that fit, and none of them did. So now I would just rely on those pockets.
I know what you're saying with trying to find a nice pack. I think my first one, I can't remember what brand it was, but I put it on, I put the water bottles in, and I start running down the road, and it's like like water, like bottles everywhere. It was horrendous. I could never tie it tight enough. And then I got a Solomon one, and that one's really good. It's like that skin 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
You can lock it right in, and then it's fantastic. So yeah, don't underestimate the pack that fits.
You mentioned earlier that one of
Yeah, exactly.
the first things ever when you started running these longer races or these ultras was your husband buying you a pair of trail shoes. Was that your first exposure to ultras, or did you discover ultra a little bit later on?
I switched to ultras in 2015, I think. He bought me a pair of, I think they were Merrells. They were really, really minimal
Gotcha.
Merrells.
And then so you've been on the ultra train, and so what's your go-to right now? What model, or is there any? Do you switch them up? Do you have obviously probably have a bunch of them, but what's your favorite right now?
Yeah, favorite, the one that I'm almost always racing in are the Mont Blanc Carbons. Um, they're nice and light. They're super fast. I find that they're good for basically any terrain. They're what I wore for the first part of JFK before switching into the Vanishes.
So the trail portion of the JFK 50, you had your good trail shoes on, the Mont Blanc Carbons. Colby talked me in. He's a good sales guy. I bought the Mont Blanc Speeds, and I did what no runner should do. I put them right out of the box, and I went and ran with them, and nothing bad happened. So that was fantastic. But I found they were super grippy. I found the Vibram on the rocks were beyond what I was used to with maybe the Lone Peaks and stuff like that. I remember that JFK, that November morning last year. It was a cooler morning. It rained a little bit. It was foggy, and the trail was slippery. How did you approach the trail, and how did you run that trail so fast? Because I thought I was running fast. I could not. Can't come to terms with that. So I'm always interested to pick the brains of these professional ultra runners. How do you or how did you approach that trail section of the Appalachian Trail?
Yeah, my goal was to actually run it a little bit faster than I ultimately did. I'd been looking at the course record holders splits to kind of gauge how fast to run it, and I'd kind of given myself a range. Um, I was concerned about not hurting myself early on because it was super slippery, and I was surprised at just how dark it was in there. Myself and the second place woman, Shea Aquilano, actually took a couple of wrong turns. Like we started going up some of the
Okay.
fire roads. Um, so my focus there just ended up being like try to stay calm. This is just the beginning of the race. Take care of yourself. Don't fall. And I was letting a lot of men around me just pass because I didn't want to get caught up in the fray.
You mentioned that your plan for JFK, you looked at the course record time and you divided it up into the trail and probably the tow path and then the road. Um, how did you like, you line up in Boonesboro, the gun goes off and you run a little bit up the road to the trailhead and then off you go onto the Appalachian Trail. Break it down to us. Like, as yeah, it was like your A race. How did you know it was going to be a good, like how long before it took you before you realized it was going to be a good day too?
Probably not until I won, honestly. Until I crossed the finish. I didn't know what to expect. It was my first time out there. I've never run on the Appalachian Trail before. We'd flown into Toronto and then driven down because we were a little bit concerned about just flight cancellations. So I was just focused on trying to stay calm, enjoying seeing some of the
Yeah,
cute
it's beautiful. They're beautiful
towns
towns.
out there. Yeah, I really love kombucha, so anytime we travel, I'm always very interested in
Okay.
finding local kombucha. So that was most of my concern the day before the race. um, yeah, but then once the race started, I was definitely intimidated. I haven't run a 50-mile race this flat before. So my goal was just to stay as present as possible, and there was a lot of really strong competition that day, so I had no idea if someone was going to pass me in the last mile, let alone, anywhere along the
In
canal
50
path.
miles, it's a good, what I mean is like a 50-mile race, you develop patience because if someone passes you early, there's a lot of miles to catch them and pass them. How do you come to terms or how have you come to terms with racing? Like, what is your 50-mile approach? So you said, you're right, there's a little bit of elevation up at the Appalachian Trail, and then you hit the towpath, which is flat as a pancake, a slight upgrade a little bit, but and then you hit some country roads and they roll into town. But like, maybe like, how did you break it up in your mind? Like when you hit that towpath, did you have a pace in mind? Did you want to increase your pace or just run by feel? Like, how did you approach that?
Yeah, so I definitely broke the race up into sections. So there was like the trail portion, there was the canal path, and then there was everything to the finish, which was just the rolling hills on roads. Um, I had a rough pace in mind for the canal path. I wanted to stay right around 6:45 minute per mile pace. I'm sorry, I have no idea what that is in
I
um
think it's probably like
kilometers.
4 minute per kilometer, like 420 per kilometer. Don't hold me to it, but I'm guessing in around there. I would think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As soon as I started, I could see that I was 5 to 10 seconds off of that, like above that. But I wasn't concerned. I just kept telling myself that I was doing the best I could, and I wanted to stay relaxed because while I was solely focused on being in the canal path, I was also aware that there were a lot of miles left after I got off of the canal path. So it was really just a matter of like, okay, let's just take this section by section and then even smaller, mile by mile. And I was even trying to kind of block out what the women around me were doing because I didn't want any of that anxiety to add to my to my own race. I just didn't want to be concerned, like, okay, are they surging now? Are they dropping back? How close are they?
I was going to ask you about that. So, when we had Bill Rogers on, and he said when he was running his major marathons and racing with people that he loved it when the runners would come around because they would talk and joke and maybe try to get each other off their game. But it sounds like, are you more of a you just want to focus on, and you want to don't want others to like maybe come into your line of sight, or you don't want to talk because you just want to focus? Like, help us understand that, Jade.
Yeah, no, I'm weirdly talkative in races, more so than in everyday life, I think. um, yeah, I had some conversations with Hannah Allgood, and I spoke with Shay Aquilano a little bit. Um, I just didn't want to be worried about what they were doing tactically. Um, I just didn't want to be looking back and then going, "Oh gosh, they're right there. That means I better run faster." I didn't want to be swayed by what someone else was doing.
This up in here because what you just said there, and you said a couple other things that maybe points to some mindset nuggets that we could take away from this. You talked about telling yourself that you're doing the best you can. So, like that positive self talk that you're trying to convince yourself. You're trying not to let others, get into your mind. This mindset trick that we learn about the positive self talk, because careful, like what you say to yourself, you're listening. Have you always been that way? Or is that something that you've learned over time?
I think I've always been that way, and I think I'm really lucky in some ways that I didn't come from a traditional running background because the competition was never emphasized for me. My family just didn't care about sports. They didn't care about what place
Mhm.
I came in. So I never really felt pressure from them that I had to be something. Even now, being in this position, it's fantastic as a sponsored athlete, um, but I still don't feel really any pressure. It's ultimately just for fun, and I feel a tremendous amount of privilege to be able to do this as a career. But it's just a race at the end of the day.
That's such a great takeaway for all of us. Have fun. It's just a race. Sometimes we can freak ourselves out. I think I saw a post today by Alex Hutchinson. He's a buddy, like we love him, and it said something about he some research that if you think about breathing during a run, you're 4% more inefficient. If you think about running form, you're 2% inefficient. And if you just ignore everything and just look at the surroundings and have fun, you're like 4% more efficient. I probably got the numbers wrong, Alex. So don't hold me to it. But I
And
know
if you're
what you were
smiling,
saying.
you're 10%. Yeah. we just make
But
up
there's
some
something
numbers.
to that. Like you can't get too serious, and you didn't have the athletics background that you talked about, right? And maybe was that a superpower of Jade that's helping you run all these races because you're running for the joy of running?
I feel like it is. I also feel lucky that I avoided just a lot of the toxicity of team sports. I mean, especially with running, there's just such a high prevalence of eating disorders and disordered eating around running at that age, and I feel I just got really lucky to avoid all of that.
And 2025 was a pretty awesome year for you with your accomplishments. What made 2025 so special, and how are you looking towards 2026?
Yeah, 2025 was most special to me because I got to do such a wide variety of races. Uh, I felt like it was led by me wanting to put myself in competitive races as often as I could. And I find that those environments just help me get the best out of myself. I can kind of find out what my potential is because I'm being pushed by all the fantastic women around me. Um, so I'm hoping that 2026 is kind of similar. I still want to be led by that similar goal of just putting myself in a wide variety of competition.
And are you revisiting some of the ones that you ran last year? Are you looking at a number of different new ones that you've never ran before? What's your plan for this year?
Yeah, I'm keeping it pretty open at the moment. I tend to do best just training and then picking a race 4 to 6 weeks out and going for that, kind of tuning up for that specific distance or course. I am going back to Chuckanut 50K this year and then hopefully Broken Arrow. And then otherwise, I have a lot of ideas, but I haven't pinpointed anything yet.
What's
Do
your
it all right. Sorry, go ahead,
yeah?
Doug.
No, I was going to say, like, to dovetail what Mark is saying there. Of those different races and different distances, what's your favorite distance? Do you have a favorite distance?
I think it's the 50K still. Yeah, I really enjoy VKs too. They're just harder to find, um, but probably 50K.
I haven't run a 50K yet, but I'm gonna run one this spring because like the 50 miler is like 81K. That's too much. That's too much. It's a long day out there, but it's fun. These long races, they we can have the great races, but a lot of the time we have a lot of junk races, and some of these races can break us. Has there been a time that one of these long distance races broke you, and then you look back at it? What did it teach you?
Yeah, do you mean like of has having finished the race or just the experience of being out there?
It could be either or. It could be that, yeah, maybe you trained really hard and you DNF'd it, you couldn't finish it. Or if you trained really hard and you just didn't achieve the time. Sometimes as runners, we can take that really hard. And maybe how have you come to terms with those races over the years and how have you changed?
Yeah, there's 200-mile races that I didn't finish. One was my second time out at Orcas 100 in Washington, and the other was Hurt 100. Um, it's hard for me to separate like, was it the race, was it the training, from like the stress of life at the time. My husband was going through a really hard period mentally, and I feel like I dropped out more for those reasons than like I wasn't prepared. Um, I think like now that I've run so many races, I can look back upon it and be like, that's just kind of how the sport goes. There's going to be a time at which you can't finish a race or it's not going to go as planned. And hopefully that's smaller. Those times are fewer than all the times that it does work out and you can finish. But I think that's part of the magic of the sport. Like when you're starting, you truly don't know, is this going to be a race that I can finish? It's a different experience than running a 5K, and I think that's part of the draw.
That's
Jade, let's say that Ultra comes to you tomorrow and is like, we want you to have a signature shoe. What color is it going to be? And what are some of the key features you're going to make sure are included in your signature shoe? And who knows, maybe they'll hear this.
It has to be green. Yep, love that color. I'd want it as light as possible. It needs like a little bit of traction, doesn't have to have like super intense lugs. I want them to integrate like the Caterpie laces, like the Ironman
yes.
laces that you can
Just
like, well, what I used at JFK to like slip.
Pull them
Yeah,
quick on. Yes,
exactly.
I saw the pictures of you, those laces. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe drain really well just because it's quite wet here in the PNW.
All right. Well, we'll call in a favor and see what we can do. And
Absolutely. We got to come
that'd be
up with a
great.
name.
Thank you.
We have to come up with a name. We're usually pretty good at naming stuff. Like, do you have a name in mind? Like, what is your trail name, Jade?
I don't know that I
Oh,
have
okay.
one. I don't know it
I
yet.
don't have one either, but we'll have to think of one. Maybe listeners, if you got a trail idea name for Jade, send it on in. Renegade Podcast. We'll pass it over to Jade.
Be the name of the signature shoe. You never know. So.
Jade, I do have a question for you because on your Instagram, I noticed that animals are a big part of your life. You travel with some animals, you foster, you rescue. How's your relationship with animals? What has it taught you about endurance sport and ultra running? Is there any similarities, any linkages between the two?
That's a good question. I guess taking care of animals sometimes feels like the monotony of training. I mean, like there's so many wonderful parts of having all of these animals, but of course, like the less fun parts are like cleaning animal
Hmm.
cages, and we have a lot. Um, it's just kind of, I guess it sort of parallels daily training. Like it's not really exciting or sexy to go out for like a 10K or 14K run, especially from your house. Like you're just running on roads or whatever you have access to. Um, so I guess in that way it kind of parallels, and I'm used to just dealing with that as a day-to-day responsibility. Um, but then there's all these wonderful moments and all these special moments, and they kind of catch you off guard. And maybe that's kind of similar to like when all of a sudden I'm running a trail I've run lots of times, but I feel fantastic. Like you're kind of in that flow state. Um, yeah, maybe there's some kind of
That's a
parallel there.
great parallel, I think. I love it.
So you obviously have then connection with animals. So when you've been out on these trails, have you met any new friends that have followed you along a little bit ways? And have you
Friends you
seen
want to
Bigfoot?
follow you.
Have you seen Bigfoot? That's the other
Yes.
question that I wanted to know.
No Bigfoot yet. No, maybe though. This is kind of a hotspot area, so we'll see. Um, I don't know that I've. Well, actually, yeah, our dog we found on a trail run in Hawaii. We were on the last day of our honeymoon, um, and we'd gone like deep into the jungles of Kauai, and we stumbled upon this very, very skinny, starving, tick-infested dog. Um, and yeah, now he's 9 and
Hmm.
How'd you bring him home?
very
How
happy.
how did that work? You just put him in your luggage and you're good to go, or what?
Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind thing because we had to be on our flight home less than 24 hours later, but we were able to get him into a local vet to get all of his vaccines, and then Air Canada at the time was uh, like flying them like in the cargo, so we were able to get him on the flight with
Wow.
us.
You said he's 9?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's 9. And then one of our other dogs we found while driving uh, out towards the Black Canyon 100K course. We were going to do a training run out there, and we saw this black lab just walking down the middle of the
Mm.
highway. No owner, not neutered yet, no collar, couldn't find anything on him. So that's our other dog.
But he's friendly enough to hop on in with you and and spend the rest of his life with you. That's amazing. Very nice.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love I love those stories. I'm a big sucker. They're on my Instagram feed of all the rescues, and I think when I retire, or before I retire, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of animals. Because if I saw, like, I'm with you. If I saw like a stray dog on the side of the road, it's coming home with me. Even though we got a little dash hound, Jack Russell Terrier Terror. She's the cutest thing ever, and we love animals. And I love your rabbit. Your rabbit is hilarious. I like when you on Instagram you have the pictures of the rabbit with the ears, and it's so cute.
Thank you. Yeah, that's Betty. She's like our full house rabbit, so she has roam to the entire house if she wants. And then we have another 9
Another
rabbits
nine
actually
rabbits.
as well. So we have a lot of animals.
I love it. I love
Goodness.
it.
I wasn't really sure when you were mentioning earlier multiple cages and that, but so how many animals do you have in total right now? I have to know.
I think it's
20.
20 at the moment. Yeah, yeah. So we have 3 dogs, 3 cats, 3 rats, 9 rabbits, and a guinea pig.
I think
Or 10
I
rabbits and a
think
guinea
I
pig.
know something. I know
Yeah.
why Jade's got to win these races because she's got to pay for all the food for these animals. Anybody listening with some animal products, we can hook you up with Jade and animal feeds, maybe some alfalfa for the rabbits, whatever you got. Let us know.
100%. Yes. I think that's actually the most expensive part of running is just the pet sitting.
That is wild. That is wild.
Awesome. Well, Jade, this has been an awesome time.
Well, maybe one question here. I'll wrap it up, and Mark can ask a question too. Looking back at your running and racing career, and thinking about the new runners that you've given some advice to throughout the episode. What is the most uncommon mistake, or it's not well known that runners are doing it's preventing them from doing their best in the ultra running scene? Because we all hear about the common mistakes about like fueling and ramping up your distance, but what's something that a runner that might be doing that they don't even know they could be doing that might surprise them? Is it buying a rabbit? Maybe buying a rabbit, 20 rabbit.
Maybe, yeah, it's kind of like forced downtime, at least if
Yeah,
you have to like hang out with the animals
forced
at home.
downtime. Yeah.
Like all of the little things, which I don't know if that's like an uncommon idea, but I think general health still matters so much more than people give it credit for. I do think obviously like fueling enough with your training, making sure you're recovering and getting in enough carbs and protein, and all that is important. But I think sometimes like just the smaller things of like better nutrition, like actually eating whole foods, really paying attention to sleep hygiene, like things that would also support health, I think go much farther than a lot of people realize to also supporting your athletic journey.
Yeah, we would definitely agree with it's the little things. It's not going out and buying the $1,000 Garmin and having all the Lecky poles and everything you need. Just do the little things like recover well, eat well, sleep well. But we don't want to hear that, do we?
Yeah, it's not very exciting, but
This has been great. So I guess my last question to you, Jade, is you have so many accomplishments now, and I know you've mentioned that in your downtime you spend it with your animals and that, but what else do you do to treat yourself or reward yourself after, a big win or just a successful season? Is there anything that you do? Do you, I guess, maybe take yourself on a trip, or is there another kind of hobby that you have that you're like, I'm going to definitely treat myself to this?
I feel like I try to integrate it as much as I can into my everyday life to keep the training itself sustainable. There's certainly a lot of things that I look forward to when I know I'm going to be spending less time training, like actually recovering from a race. I really love birding. I really like foraging. Nick and I are really into rock hounding.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like outside that we want to be doing that you can't really do while you're running because you're moving too fast. So I really enjoy kind of shifting gears and basically moving as slow as possible through the forest instead of as fast as possible. So that's kind of a treat for me. I also really like hot springs, discovering new hot springs, and then like massages. Probably everyone likes those, but I really like those too.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You mentioned coaching. So where can runners find out more about Jade and your coaching services?
Yeah, my husband and I have a coaching business called Lightfoot Coaching. You can look online. That's just lightfootcoaching.ca. And I also have a Substack too called The Thread that people can check
I
out.
did know that. I had that written down that you are a writer. And I was going to ask a couple of questions. Maybe we'll have to get you back on the pod to talk about like that linkage between running and writing. And because we've explored that with some folks before. It's a really cool linkage sometimes.
Yeah, I'd love that. I love talking about writing.
Fantastic. So yeah, we'll link that in the show notes, your Substack, and we'll talk to the producer. He's usually pretty bad at that. No, he's actually pretty good. No,
He's great. Come on.
He's great.
Oh,
I need a producer.
one of the other things I just wanted to give you a shout out for too, as when I was looking at your Instagram, you have a very awesome taste in music. I saw CCR on there, Bob Dylan, and a few others too. I was just like, this is awesome. So very nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Jade, this has been fantastic. We're so proud of you. We love our Canadian runners, and you've been dominating. I was mesmerized that Canadians did really well. Like last year at the JFK, as I started off the start of the episode, there was a few runners from Ontario who went down there for their first like 50K, and they did, or 50 miler, and they did really well. And it was fun to see. It's a great event. Are you thinking to ever maybe head back to the JFK race? Is that, or one and done kind of thing?
Yeah, I might head back. It sounds kind of intimidating because then I will want to go faster than what I did this past year, and that that definitely hurt. So I have to feel fresh first before I think about that.
Sure. Well, like, did you notice this on the towpath? The towpath was a little bit damp, so that to me it took some of the bounce away. I found it a little bit spongy. So I found by the time I got off the towpath, my legs were a little bit dead. Did you notice that too?
Okay. I mean, I've never been there before, so I didn't have anything to
Yeah.
compare it to,
It's
but
usually a little bit
yeah,
drier.
I could totally see
Usually it's
that.
a little bit drier, a little bit
Okay.
harder packed. Because I just knew it was a little bit spongy because I got off the trail really good. I got off the towpath. I don't run the towpath that well, but by the time I got to the road, I was like, thank God for the road. And listeners who have done the JFK, you'd never really thank God for that road because there's rolling hills and you've been out there for a long, long time. But I could at least bounce off the road. It was pretty fun because I put on my carbons as well. And I was like bouncing around out there. It was fun.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. That makes it sound slightly more doable.
We'll convince you to come back. You got to go back at least 5 times. Then you get the
Okay.
5-time buckle or the 5-time in the book.
Okay.
So that's my goal. I got 2 more to do, and then I can retire for the rest of my life. Or walk it really fast.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Jade, thank you very much. We're going to be cheering for you in 2026, and all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Life can be hard, and we like to say the Renegade podcast can help. You know what also can help? Something truly transformative? Jesse Itzler's Running Man Festival. This isn't just an event. It's a 3-day immersion at Kingston Downs in Rome, Georgia, where you craft your own running adventure, sweat it out in the saunas, flow through yoga, absorb wisdom from world-class speakers, and vibe to live music under the stars. It's about recalibrating your mind, your body, and spirit in a community of like-minded souls, pushing boundaries. Jesse, if this resonates across the ether, I'm putting it out there. We'd be honored to join the tribe in September, sharing stories and inspiration. And if you're tuned in and you're connected to Jesse, whisper a kind word our way. Let's co-create this. Let's manifest. Dive deeper at runningmanfestival.com and connect with the Renegade. We're on YouTube, Instagram, on X, or shoot us an email, renegadepodcast@gmail.com. For more on endurance, mindset, and the path less traveled, stay tuned, stay inspired. We thank you for listening to the Renegade Podcast. Each episode, we dare to practice the lost art of conversation to better understand this thing we call life and the human connection that we have with running and endurance sport. If you enjoy the Renegade Podcast, could we ask for a favor? Head on over to our YouTube and click subscribe and like our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Your engagement helps keep the Renegade Podcast growing and going. If you have a show idea, a comment, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, renegadepodcast@gmail.com. That's RUNEGADE podcast@gmail.com. We have a great list of guests coming up that we're looking forward to sharing another conversation with you. Head on over to our link tree, check out our sponsors, our friends of the podcast. We have great discount codes that, thanks to them, they're offering you, the Renegade listeners, to save some money on the best running gear, apparel, fuel, and nutrition. We thank you for listening. And remember, in a world of runners, be a renegade.